Okay, Zirkle of Fifths. The Zirkle of Fifths is a phenomenon of our musical system. It's fascinating to me the way the math works out to create this Zirkle of Fifths, and where it comes from is very interesting. If I start on C, we'll just talk about C major because that's what we've already talked about. If I start on C and I go to the fifth note of my scale, I get to G. Okay, at this point, reset your mind, start at the G and think your G major scale and go to the fifth note and you're going to find D. Start on D, major scale, go to the fifth note, you get A major scale, fifth note is E major scale, fifth note is B major scale, fifth note is F sharp. If we rename F sharp G flat because they are the same note on the keyboard, then G flat, the fifth note is D flat, D flat, the fifth note is A flat, fifth note is E flat, fifth note is B flat, the fifth note is F, and the fifth note of the S scale, you guessed it, is C. So by doing what we call perfect fifths, which we'll talk about later in a lesson on intervals, what perfect means, we take a perfect fifth above each note, and if we continue that process, we will get all the way through the scale and back to our starting point. Just by going up a perfect fifth, we will eventually end up back at our starting point, but several octaves higher than where we started. Now, the math on this is a little bit funky and odd because we have a specific interval that goes from a perfect fifth, has a certain ratio between the frequencies. So if we take A, if A is 440, then we go to the fifth above A, this E is going to be 1.5 times the frequency of the A. So if we go, A is 440, this E has to be 660, adding 220 to 440. And we can continue that, so we can get a perfect E if we go to 660 above 440. From 660, we can add 330 to that, and we can get up to 990. We can add half of that again and get to here. We can go 1.5 times to each of these and get to a perfect fifth, perfectly in tune fifth. The trouble with the math, or the interesting phenomenon about the way this works out, if you keep doing that all the way around the circle and you get back to this A, you will get to an A in a higher register, but the number that you come up with is not exactly a multiple of 440, meaning it's out of tune with the original A. And for that reason, we've had to compress. All the intervals are not an exactly perfect fifth on a piano, for instance, because they can't all work out. The math doesn't work out for all of them to be perfect. So we cheat just a tiny bit on each one of them, and most people don't even hear it. Only the people with really finely tuned perfect pitch are aware of this little cheating that goes on as you go around the circle on a piano or any instrument that's tuned universally to be in tune with itself in any key. Okay, so back to the Zirkle of Fifths. How do we use this Zirkle of Fifths? Most of the time we use this towards thinking about key signatures. So if I have no sharps and no flats, I'm at the top part of this clock shape on the 12 o'clock point. No sharps, no flats in your key signature, you have a C major. If you have one sharp, then you're at a G. If you have two sharps in your key signature, you're at a D, 3 sharps A, 4 sharps E, 5 sharps B, and 6 sharps would be F sharp. Now this is the flat side. If you have one flat in your key signature, you're talking about F major, 2 flats B flat major, 3 flats E flat major, 4 flats A flat major, 5 flats D flat major, and 6 flats are G flat major. Now we're only talking about major key signatures today. Later in the semester, when we talk about minor key signatures, we will come back and look at this Zirkle of Fifths, and we'll talk about how it relates to the minor key signatures later. But notice, I want to talk about this one a little bit. 6 sharps and 6 flats in the key signature both point to the same note on the keyboard, which is F sharp or G flat. But you're not limited at going to 6. So we went 6 sharps, we went 6 flats. You can actually go to 7 flats if you want to. And 7 flats, some of you may already know, 7 flats is C flat, meaning everything is flatted. C flat. If C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C is a major scale, then C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat is also a major scale. Because we chain, it starts out with all the intervals being a major scale. If we shift them all the same amount, which is a half step in this case, they're still the same intervals, therefore they're still a major scale. We can go 6 sharps to F sharp. We can go 1 sharp further, and we can say this one is C sharp when we want 7 sharps. And if you want to go to 8 sharps, you would go on over here, and this would be G sharp major. The 8th sharp is actually an F double sharp, which, so you have everything sharped except F, which has a double sharp, which adds up to 8. That's a little theoretical. You're not going to run into that in everyday music when you're playing. I think that's it on Zirkle of Fifths.